Antarctica is one of the weirdest places on Earth, and from the very beginning, Antarctica has pretty much been a mystery to us.
Now, what the is it doing on a map drawn in the 1500s, which we know was based on older source maps when nobody knew it existed in the 1500s? To me, the obvious answer is we are dealing with the fingerprints of a lost civilization.
For one, the continent is sparsely inhabited, with less than 10,000 people living there. This is despite the fact that Antarctica has a landmass of 13.66 million square kilometers. As one of the most uninhabited places in the world, Antarctica has been the subject of significant exploration, and many people have done their best to uncover some of its biggest secrets. Joe Rogan, arguably the world's most popular podcaster, has been one such person. Over the years, his podcast has played host to several scientists and explorers who have spoken about some of the secrets of this region that you might not know about. Follow us on this journey with Joe Rogan into some of the weirdest and most shocking facts about Antarctica. We'll also be looking into external sources to find out additional facts about this mysterious landmass, opening your eyes to one of the weirdest parts of our entire planet. Operation High Jump and the Missing 411. Joe Rogan has been at his podcast for well over a decade now, and in that time he and his guests have come up with quite a lot of wild theories and arguments. Because of that, it's pretty rare for you to ever see Joe shocked out of his mind. However, back in 2022, he got a pretty shocking revelation that left him stunned. On an episode of his Joe Rogan Experience podcast back in August 2022, Joe had on Sam Tripoli, a fellow podcaster and comedian. The Antarctic Treaty. By this point, we've pretty much established the fact that you can't necessarily just venture into Antarctica to visit the massive slab of ice and snow. I mean, with the cold and the threat of frostbite, the continent is definitely not necessarily where you just want to venture into willy-nilly. Here's the thing though, even if you did want to visit Antarctica, there's a limit to how much you would be able to do that. This is because of something called the Antarctic Treaty System. As I said earlier, the entire point of that military exercise was to consider if the United States could establish a military base in Antarctica and eventually expand its dominance to cover the entire continent. However, the objective pretty much failed. In 1959, a treaty was signed between 12 countries. The entire point of the treaty is to ensure that the environment is protected and that no man-made activity, including and especially industrialization and war, can threaten the biodiversity of the continent. So the Antarctic Treaty only ensures that all human activity in Antarctica is properly planned and managed. From tourism and exploration to scientific research, everything needs to be done in accordance with the treaty's rules and regulations. While it doesn't prevent tourists or military personnel from being present in Antarctica, anyone looking to be present on this continent will need a permit from a treaty party. Antarctica's underground lakes. Exploration of Antarctica as well as the Antarctic Ocean has been pretty extensive over the past few decades. In the 1970s, scientists came upon a major breakthrough that demonstrated just how much of this region has been untapped since the dawn of time. They discovered that an entirely different ecosystem was existing and thriving in the Antarctic waters. To date, an estimated 400 lakes have been found beneath the surface of the Antarctic floor. These lakes sit under 3 kilometers of ice, and scientists believe that the lakes were formed during the separation of Antarctica from Gondwana Land, a supercontinent that broke up during the Jurassic period. And thanks to underwater pressure, the lakes have managed to continue flowing all these years, instead of just freezing up and becoming moving blocks of ice. Lake Vostok, which was discovered in the 1990s, remains the largest subglacial lake discovered in the region. Laying at 2.5 kilometers below the ice, the lake had a temperature that clocked in at -3 degrees. Despite being covered by ice for 20 million years, lakes like this have also been found to hold existing ecosystems of microorganisms. Singing ice. Telling you that there's ice in Antarctica is a bit like telling you that the sun is hot. It's pretty obvious. But there's something quite interesting about the ice in this region. Some of it actually gives off a sound. When some researchers set out to explore the ice shifts in Antarctica, they were pleasantly surprised to come across a glacier that gives off melodic sounds. The Ross Ice Shelf, as it was named, appears to have a thing for giving off sounds and making music. The Ross Ice Shelf is the largest of its kind in Antarctica, with a size that rivals all of France. When winds blow across its dunes and crash against its surface, this collision creates vibrations that produce continuous seismic tones. This means that the shelf pretty much sings at all times. However, the sounds aren't audible to human ears. Scientists had to use seismic sensors to listen to them. Another interesting fact is that the sounds appear to change as the weather changes too. So scientists now use the sounds as well as changes in the sounds to measure the ice shelf's stability and vulnerability to climatic conditions. I feel like we could send that file to a composer or a producer and they could create a fire beat with it. Hey, Dr. Dre, give me a call. It's pretty fascinating to think that there is an expanse of land on our planet that hasn't yet been fully explored. Antarctica is the coldest region on Earth, with an estimated 90% of the world's ice. And with the continent being incredibly secluded, it's pretty obvious that we're just scratching the surface when it comes to things that can be found in this place. What do you think about these discoveries? Did aliens really land on this continent? Are there secret government experiments being carried out there? Let us know in the comments below.